My name is Cameron Paul, and I am the Chief of Police for the American Fork Police Department. I'd like to address the members of our American Fork and Cedar Hills community regarding some videos currently circulating on social media that have been presented in a way that calls into question some of the actions of our department. These videos are affiliated with an influencer on YouTube and other social media platforms and stem from a dispute involving Legos that originates in the state of Oregon. In this message, we will be presenting 4 different cases and police responses from our police department, and will provide a detailed overview as to what happened and what our actions were. On March 8th, 2026, an American Fork resident, Joshua Johnson, requested phone contact from the American Fork Police Department regarding a suspicious individual who had earlier arrived at his home. Officer Tonga with the American Fork Police Department contacted Mr. Johnson by phone. Mr. Johnson reported that earlier that same day, a suspicious male had been at his residence. He stated the male was wearing a baseball cap with a UPS logo taped onto it. Mr. Johnson also reported that a suspicious package had been left at the residence. He explained that what appeared suspicious was that the shipping label did not look legitimate. The package was later determined to contain rubber ducks. Mr. Johnson reported to Officer Tonga that he believed the male was an individual named Benjamin Snyder, who, according to Johnson, operates a YouTube channel. Mr. Johnson further explained that civil proceedings were occurring in Oregon and stated that he believed Snyder was sending individuals to his home to harass him. While Officer Tonga was still on the phone with Mr. Johnson, Johnson reported that 2 females had exited a vehicle and were walking toward his property. He also reported that a male driver remained inside the vehicle. Officers Tonga and Richardson responded to the area. Officer Tonga contacted the driver, who identified himself as Benjamin Adams. Although Adams initially stated he was there for unrelated reasons, he later admitted he had been filming Mr. Johnson while Johnson was walking around the exterior of his residence. Adams told Officer Tonga that an individual named Benjamin Snyder had flown into Utah on March 7th, 2026, and had contacted Adams requesting assistance with filming, for which Adams would be compensated by Snyder. Adams reported that Snyder had left prior to officers' arrival and stated Snyder was driving a dark-colored Hyundai passenger car. Officer Tonga issued Adams a trespass warning at Mr. Johnson's request and instructed him not to return to Mr. Johnson's residence. At approximately the same time, Officer Richardson arrived in the area and located a dark-colored Hyundai vehicle. Richardson initiated a traffic stop on the vehicle for failing to stop before the stop line at a stop sign and failing to stop completely at that stop sign. Richardson contacted the driver, who identified himself as Tyler Shaw. A rear passenger also identified himself as Benjamin Snyder. When Officer Tonga arrived at the scene of the traffic stop, he spoke with Snyder, who stated he was in Utah filming a series regarding civil proceedings originating out of Oregon. Both individuals denied any involvement in delivering the package. At that point, Officer Tonga determined that Adams, Shaw, and Snyder did not appear to have committed any violations of Utah's criminal code. Officer Tonga advised Shaw and Snyder that they were trespassed from Mr. Johnson's property and could not return. Both individuals acknowledged the trespass warning and were released. On March 9th, 2026, Joshua Johnson again contacted our department to report that a male was at his front door, ringing the doorbell and knocking. Mr. Johnson reported the male claimed to be part of a YouTube initiative, and Mr. Johnson stated that the male was harassing him. Johnson also reported that the male had pounded on the door, opened the screen door, attempted to open the front door, and had looked through some of the windows to the residence. Officer Hawkins with the American Fork Police Department responded and contacted the male, who identified himself as Christian Morgan. Morgan told Officer Hawkins he was attempting to help his friend Benjamin Snyder contact Mr. Johnson regarding a dispute involving a business known as Bricks and Minifigs and some alleged money that was owed. Officer Hawkins asked Morgan how he became involved. Morgan stated that Snyder had posted on Instagram indicating he was coming to Utah and needed assistance from locals to get around town. Morgan offered to help and explained that at one point while he was in the vehicle with Snyder, Snyder requested help contacting Mr. Johnson. Morgan told Officer Hawkins that Snyder was likely nearby in a church parking lot. Officer Hawkins determined that Morgan had falsely represented himself to Mr. Johnson through his doorbell camera as belonging to a nearby church congregation that did not exist. Morgan had also told Mr. Johnson that he had been sent by Johnson's church leader. Morgan acknowledged to Officer Hawkins that these statements were false and that he had made them at the direction of Mr. Snyder. Officer Hawkins issued Morgan a trespass warning and instructed him not to return to the residence. As Officer Hawkins prepared to locate Snyder as part of the investigation, he observed Morgan walking toward a Hyundai passenger vehicle occupied by several individuals. Officer Hawkins believed Snyder may have been inside of the vehicle and intended to contact him as part of the investigation. Officer Hawkins initiated a traffic stop on the vehicle. As this occurred, Morgan turned away from the vehicle and ran away from officers. Officers did not pursue Morgan because he had not committed a crime, and Morgan was not observed again by our officers. Officer Hawkins discovered the vehicle was occupied by Tyler Shaw and Benjamin Snyder, both of whom had been trespassed from Mr. Johnson's residence the previous day. As Officer Hawkins spoke with Shaw and Snyder, they initially denied sending Morgan to the residence. Later in this conversation, Snyder admitted they had indeed sent Morgan and another unidentified individual to attempt to contact Mr. Johnson because, according to Snyder, their civil case could not proceed without an attempt at verbal reconciliation. During the interaction, Officer Fraughton indicated he believed Shaw's eyes appeared glossy and expressed concern regarding possible impairment. Officer Hawkins asked Shaw if he would be willing to participate in field sobriety testing to ensure he was safe to drive. Shaw agreed. Field sobriety tests were conducted and no signs of impairment were observed. During this same time, while Officer Hawkins was conducting his investigation, Officer Fraughton used his police service dog to conduct an open-air sniff around the vehicle. Fraughton's police service dog alerted to the presence of the odor of a controlled substance, and the vehicle was subsequently searched. No illegal substances were located inside of the vehicle. At one point during a conversation, Snyder admitted to Officer Hawkins that he and Shaw had actually delivered a package of ducks to Mr. Johnson's residence with the intent to have Mr. Johnson sign a fake delivery confirmation on Snyder's phone so that Snyder could later use that signature to create a forged contract claiming Snyder could not be trespassed from the property for 5 years. Snyder indicated he did not believe there was anything wrong with this and believed that there was nothing wrong with his posing as a UPS delivery driver. Ultimately, Officer Hawkins warned Shaw and Snyder again that they were approaching conduct that could potentially constitute harassment or stalking if they continued to send individuals to Mr. Johnson's residence. Officer Hawkins reaffirmed the trespass warning and released both of them from the scene. On March 10th, 2026, Kaylee Johnson, the wife of Joshua Johnson, reported that a female was standing near the front door of her residence taking photographs of the home. The female was described as wearing long, fake, curly hair. Shortly afterward, Joshua Johnson contacted police and reported he was going to shoot someone as a result of the ongoing harassment. Multiple officers immediately responded to the area. While en route, Officer Sumbot with the American Fork Police Department contacted Mr. Johnson by phone. Mr. Johnson reported that Benjamin Snyder and several affiliates were outside of his residence and had approached the home, frightening his wife and his children. When Officer Sumbot arrived, he located a vehicle parked north of the Johnson residence, and that vehicle was occupied by Sierra Lautz and Benjamin Snyder. Officer Sumbot asked what they were doing in the area. Snyder stated that he was involved in a court case and needed to provide legal paperwork to Mr. Johnson. Snyder indicated he worked for himself and that Lautz was his process server. Officer Sumbot then contacted Mr. Johnson to gather additional information regarding the situation. Mr. Johnson explained there was an ongoing dispute involving a Bricks and Minifigs franchise located in Oregon. Mr. Johnson stated that the prior owner, Crystal Law, had reportedly abandoned the store and requested that corporate representatives take over the location. Mr. Johnson identified himself as an employee of Bricks and Minifigs and stated that he had been sent to the store to secure the franchise location and protect company assets. Mr. Johnson further explained that Law had entered into a consignment agreement with an individual named Brian Mansell, but according to Johnson, Mansell had not been paid. Mr. Johnson stated that when he arrived at the Oregon franchise location, Mansell demanded payment from Johnson and his business partner. Johnson reported that corporate representatives advised him they would address the consignment issue directly. However, Johnson claimed that Mansell continued attempting to hold Johnson and his business partner personally responsible under the agreement. Mr. Johnson also reported there were Lego sets believed to belong to Mansell that remained at the store. According to Johnson, they offered to return those items, but Mansell refused and continued demanding compensation. Mr. Johnson alleged that Mansell had hired Benjamin Snyder to harass, stalk, vandalize the store, threaten to murder the manager of the store, and forge signatures. Mr. Johnson then explained to Officer Sumbot several incidences from the previous days allegedly involving Snyder and or Snyder's affiliates. Officer Sumbot informed Mr. Johnson that Snyder stated he was present with a process server to serve legal paperwork. Mr. Johnson claimed the paperwork was fraudulent. Officer Sumbot again contacted Snyder, who stated they needed to physically deliver copies of the paperwork to Mr. Johnson. Officer Sumbot's report states, Snyder told me he was following the government's instructions and that Johnson keeps calling the cops on him to avoid getting in trouble for his crimes. Snyder said this is the third time Johnson has called the cops because he thinks that if he keeps calling the cops on him, he can get away with it, but we are showing him that he's not going to get away with these crimes. Snyder allowed Officer Sumbot to take the paperwork to Mr. Johnson, which Officer Sumbot did in an attempt to help Mr. Snyder. Officer Sumbot advised Mr. Johnson that the paperwork appeared to be related to a claim and a case that originated in Oregon. Mr. Johnson stated that he had already contacted the Oregon Law Enforcement Agency with jurisdiction, which was the Kaiser Police Department, and had been told that nothing had been filed. Mr. Johnson also stated he believed the situation was being created solely for YouTube content purposes and declined to accept service. Officer Sumbot contacted the Marion County Circuit Court in Oregon to verify the legitimacy of the paperwork. The court confirmed that the case was indeed legitimate, but that papers had already been served and no hearing date had yet been scheduled.
Hello. Can I see those papers?
Yeah.
So this is what you're trying to serve them with?
Yes. That's required by the court that we have. I wish we could just send them an email. I wish we could just send them a phone call, or the court could just send it to them, but this is what we're required to do from the United States court. So we're just following the instructions of the government.
Have you guys been here before?
I have once. I came one time to have a good faith conversation with him before suing, which the government also requires us to have before.
So are you Benjamin Snyder?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just following basically the instructions of the government, and he keeps calling the cops on me to try to avoid getting in trouble for his crimes.
Okay.
So that's why he keeps calling. I think it's like the third time he's called the cops now on us, because he thinks if I just call the cops on me, he can get away with it. But we're showing him like we're not going to let him get away with his crimes. So.
Okay. You okay if I give these papers to him?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Hang tight. We're going to finish up some things on our end when we try to.
Okay, we might need you to fill out some documents later then, as proof of service, if that's okay, but because whoever serves him has to fill out a proof of service and might have to fill out some court papers, but that's just the legal way to do it.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
What was that?
You not know?
He does not want the paper. So
He's not want the papers?
here's that back for you.
Okay.
He wanted you trespassed.
While officers were speaking with the involved parties, a sign was also located on the park strip across from Mr. Johnson's residence. The sign depicted Mr. Johnson holding U.S. currency in both hands while standing in front of an elderly man lying in a hospital bed. The sign contained the statement, "I stole a dying man's life savings." Snyder admitted he had placed the sign earlier that day. Officer Sumbot advised Snyder that, based on the ongoing conduct being reported and observed, officers believed his actions were approaching the statutory elements of stalking under Utah law. Specifically, officers expressed concern regarding repeated appearances at the residence, directing multiple individuals to contact the family, photographing the home, and placing objects and signs at the property. Officers had already given Snyder earlier warnings. Snyder responded that he believed he was following court procedure. An individual commits stalking if the individual intentionally or knowingly engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific individual and knows or is reckless as to whether that course of conduct would cause a reasonable person to fear for the individual's own safety or the safety of another, or to suffer other emotional distress. Utah law defines a course of conduct as two or more acts directed toward a specific individual, including, but not limited to, following, monitoring, observing, photographing, surveilling, or communicating to or about an individual. It also includes approaching or confronting an individual, appearing at an individual's residence, contacting an individual's neighbors, delivering or placing objects on an individual's property, and using electronic communication or third parties to engage in such conduct. Based on the totality of the known facts at the time, officers established probable cause that Snyder had committed the offenses of stalking and targeted residential picketing under Utah law. Snyder was subsequently arrested and transported to the Utah County Jail. On March 11th, 2026, Joshua Johnson again contacted the American Fork Police Department to report that Benjamin Snyder and several affiliates were again in the area. Mr. Johnson reported that the individual he believed had been stalking him was across the street from his residence, placing another sign containing Johnson's photograph. Johnson also reported that individuals involved were speaking with his neighbors. Officer Richardson with the American Fork Police Department responded to the area and observed 4 individuals hanging a sign directly across from Johnson's residence. The sign appeared to be either the same sign or a replica of the sign that was referenced in case 26AF02033. Officer Richardson contacted the group and asked what they were doing. The group stated they were supporting a GoFundMe campaign for a dying man. One of the individuals, later identified as Sheldon Norcross, voluntarily showed Officer Richardson his phone to display the GoFundMe. While viewing the phone, Officer Richardson observed that Norcross was actively engaged in a FaceTime call. Officer Richardson asked Norcross who it was he was speaking with, and specifically asked whether it was Benjamin Snyder. Norcross confirmed Snyder was on the FaceTime call. After reviewing the known facts and the elements of Utah's stalking statute, and taking into consideration the new actions from that day, Officer Richardson established probable cause to arrest Snyder for an additional count of stalking. Specifically, Richardson believed Snyder was coordinating conduct through third parties that constituted a continued course of conduct under the statute we reviewed. Officer Richardson then decided to seize Norcross's phone, pending the approval of a search warrant, in order to preserve potential evidence and prevent the deletion or alteration of any data. According to Officer Richardson's report, when Norcross was informed that the phone was going to be seized, Norcross immediately began manipulating the device. Richardson wrote in his report. Norcross then immediately opened his phone and began manipulating it, which led myself and Lieutenant Adamson to believe he was attempting to destroy evidence on his device. At that point, Officer Richardson and Lieutenant Adamson forcibly removed the phone from Norcross's grasp after what Richardson describes in his report as a very brief altercation. Norcross was then detained in handcuffs as part of the stalking investigation. At this time, officers did not know where Snyder was located. While still on scene, Officer Richardson received information from an American Fork resident stating that several YouTubers had been renting an Airbnb property from this citizen. Officers responded to the Airbnb with the intent to arrest Snyder for an additional count of stalking. Upon arrival, officers developed probable cause, including information gathered from video surveillance from the Airbnb, to believe that Snyder had entered the residence and had not yet exited. Officers then prepared a search warrant affidavit requesting authorization to enter the residence to locate and arrest Snyder. During contact with the Airbnb owner, the owner reported overhearing conversations about possible stolen Legos. Specifically, officers wrote in the search warrant affidavit, the homeowner also disclosed that he could hear multiple individuals inside the residence speaking about possibly stolen Lego toys they had taken. Based on that information, officers added a request within the search warrant affidavit seeking authorization to also search for and seize possible stolen property, including Lego merchandise. 4th District Judge Roger W. Griffin reviewed and approved the search warrant. Officers executed the warrant as a knock and announce warrant. What this means is that our officers take the time to knock on the door, to present themselves as officers, and to inform anyone inside that they have a search warrant. As they were doing this, individuals came to the door. Ultimately, 5 individuals exited the residence. Those individuals were identified as Benjamin Snyder, Tyler Shaw, Stephen Allen, Sierra Lautz, and a male who was later identified as a 16-year-old juvenile. As the individuals exited the residence, they were placed in handcuffs while officers secured the scene. During Snyder's detention, Lieutenant Adamson took hold of Snyder's right arm. Lieutenant Adamson later reported that he felt Snyder tense his arm, at which point Adamson moved Snyder's right arm behind his back to place him into custody. Mr. Snyder later addressed this incident in one of his YouTube videos. In the X-ray image displayed by Mr. Snyder in that video, a small L is visible in the upper right-hand corner of the X-ray. The L indicates the image is that of the left shoulder. The video shows Lieutenant Adamson handling Snyder's right arm during the arrest. Additionally, officers documented no complaints of arm or shoulder pain by Mr. Snyder during his detention, transport, or booking process at the jail. All 5 individuals were transported to the American Fork Police Department. Due to limited interview room availability, the individuals were placed in a combination of interview rooms and holding cells while interviews were conducted. The juvenile male was also immediately released to his parents upon arrival at the police department. The 4 adult individuals agreed to interviews with Detective Nicosia. The contents of those interviews are documented in the Associated Police reports, which will be made available through a link accompanying this video. Ultimately, Detective Nicosia determined that Shaw, Allen, and Lautz appeared to have been acting at the direction and encouragement of Mr. Snyder. These 3 individuals were ultimately released from the police department. Mr. Snyder was subsequently transported to the Utah County Jail, where he was booked for an additional charge of stalking. I understand that many people following this situation online have strong feelings regarding the underlying business dispute out of Oregon and allegations that individuals may have lost significant amounts of money. I recognize that people are frustrated, angry, and may feel that justice has not been served in relation to those allegations. Those concerns are understandable. I understand them and I'm empathetic to them. And nothing in the actions taken by the American Fork Police Department should be interpreted as validating, supporting, or defending anyone involved in that separate civil or criminal dispute. Our responsibility in Utah was not to determine who was morally right or wrong in a business disagreement originating in another state. Our responsibility was to respond to conduct reported here in our community, evaluate the facts available to our officers at the time, and enforce Utah law as officers established probable cause that a crime had occurred. The fact that someone may believe they have been wronged financially does not exempt any individual from the laws governing harassment, trespassing, stalking, or other conduct within our jurisdiction. We remain committed to enforcing the law fairly, objectively, and transparently, regardless of who is involved or what narrative may exist.